It's commonly believed that the true champions of game design, and any field, are the people who make things that are good. People who design iconic systems, incredible art, and timeless stories. But you know what I call those people? Fools. The mark of a true pioneer is not making something that's great, it's not even making something so bad that it's unplayable. It's hitting that exact sweet spot where something is not bad enough to make you quit, but just bad enough to be irritating, like a menu system in a mediocre game, for example. You want to be a pioneer, I can tell. And luckily, you have the perfect template to follow in Gotham Knights, a game which... honestly, this is the most interesting video I could possibly make about it. The UI, or user interface, is an often overlooked element of game design. There's a lot of people who wouldn't consider a pause screen or an inventory menu to be an actual part of the game, but that's not necessarily true. It's just that if these systems are doing their job right, you don't necessarily really notice them. They blend into the background. But you're a pioneer. You want to be bold. You want your menu to stand out. Not too much, you don't want people to quit your game, you just want it to stand out just enough that your work will go unappreciated. So, without further ado, here are the top 5 ways that you can make a terrible UI. Number 1. Common design philosophy says that you want your players to be spending as little time in the menus as possible. Menus are, after all, not the most visually interesting or stimulating part of the experience. If a player spends too much time in menus, then they're probably going to get bored and stop playing. That's why you need to aim for the sweet spot. You want your player spending just long enough on the menus that is noteworthy, but not long enough that they get bored and quit the game. Let me introduce you to your new best friend, the hold press, for when a tab is just a little bit too quick for you. Common utility for a hold press is that it allows you to use the same button for 2 different things. The tap will be the fast action and the hold will be the longer action. For example, in the Fallout games, a tap will pick up an item on the ground, but a hold item will use or equip it. A logical use of a hold press that you can easily understand. So that's what you don't want to do. What you want to do is put hold presses everywhere that you can get away with it. Put a hold press for you to access the main menus, the most important button in the game. That way there's a little delay every time you enter the screen. Not enough to make someone stop playing, but just long enough to be noticeable every single time. If it's a game that has crafting mechanics that mean you're going to be doing a lot of crafting, why not add a hold press to the act of crafting? Or if you're planning to overflow their inventory with useless junk, then it's a great idea to add a hold press to the process of getting rid of that junk. Anywhere that you can add a few extra seconds for no good reason is a great reason to add a hold press. Number 2. Menus are one of a developer's most important tools for relaying information quickly and efficiently. In fact, let's get more basic than that. Words are good at conveying information. It's natural that a menu will involve lots of writing. Most humans are trained from a very early age how to read. It's a very thoroughly ingrained skill. And that's great news for you because it means it's very easy to mess with. Well, this isn't universally true. English is almost always read from left to right, and this is an important thing to remember when designing menus because it means that whatever is on the left of the screen is going to be given priority by a player. It's the first thing they'll read. That's why main menus are usually arranged with the options on the left or the centre of the screen, because putting them on the right kind of messes with people's natural rhythm. So obviously do that, you want to put all of your important information on the right side of the screen, or, better yet, randomly change which side of the screen important information is on between different parts of the menu. Switching it up means that players will have to keep refocusing their eyes on different parts of the screen and can never fall into a rhythm that becomes comfortable and unnotable. We're looking to be as distracting as possible here. Put 2 blocks of information on opposite sides of the screen to make sure that the player can't possibly be looking at both at once, and make sure that the space between these 2 blocks has little to no information to help with that. If you can have motion graphics nearby the text to distract players while they're trying to read, then that's a little bonus as well. Anything you can do to just slightly knock someone out of their conditioned reading habits you want to do. Number 3. Designing a game for a controller is both a blessing and a curse. Controllers are built for video games, but they also limit your options way more than a mouse and keyboard would. You have to make a lot of sacrifices to fit everything you need on these various buttons and triggers. This is particularly tricky with menus. Menus are generally designed with a mouse and keyboard in mind, where you can click on everything. A controller offers significantly less options for navigating a menu. And that's great news for you, because when you've got full control over how someone navigates a menu, you can make them do some really stupid stuff. A good idea is to assign similar actions to the same button. For example, if A, as it usually is your primary button for opening submenus or using items in your inventory, then normally you'd want to keep that consistent across the entire menu. But nobody says you have to. Here's a better idea. Have it so that in one section of your inventory, the A button opens a details page, but in another section of the inventory, A immediately equips an item. In one section, apply the scrapping mechanic to Y, and then in the other side, have it be pressing down on the left thumbstick, because obviously Y opens the details page. Be weird. Be inconsistent. Assigning an important task that you're going to be doing a lot to clicking in a thumbstick is a great call, because that's a button that's slightly uncomfortable to press in repetition. Remember that these points are not independent. Throw in some hold presses randomly about the place to really mix things up. If you can cause players a small amount of physical discomfort using your menus without them switching off the game, then that's the mark of a true expert. Ideally a physical mark, left on their thumbs. Number 4. Games, especially gear-based progression games like Gotham Knights, are going to involve a lot of numbers. Health, damage output, elemental effects, all that sort of thing. Making sure that players are able to quickly and easily understand your numbers is a key element of UI design. Numbers are hard. They can very easily blend into a kind of visual soup that your eyes just sort of glaze over. And that's exactly what we're looking to exploit. When we're talking about weapons, for example, 95% of the time the most important number you're going to be looking for is how much damage it does. That's why most games will put that number right at the top, and that's why they're suckers. You want the most important number to look as insignificant as possible. Stick damage right in the centre, where it's the most difficult to see at a glance. A power number is a great asset, because it could be confused for damage, but it's not. Power can really mean anything you want. It's a number that doesn't tell a player any relevant information beyond the biggest number is bestest. So that's exactly why it should be the primary number that the entire UI is built around. If your gear has a level and your character has a separate level that doesn't actually have any effect on the gear level, display both of those numbers on the screen at once just to add a little bit of confusion. A level 40 character can equip a level 60 suit because these aren't actually related numbers, but use the same language anyway just so some players might think they are and get confused. Symbols are a great shorthand for things, but symbols may as well be ancient runes if you don't know what they mean, so make sure to hide what the symbols actually mean at the bottom of a detail screen. And have so many different symbols that a player can't actually memorize what they mean anyway, making them largely irrelevant. Something extra devious to do here is if your gear has slots for extra modifications, make those modifications increase the power level. Then, even when a piece of gear is better than what you're wearing, you can make it look worse by having the power level be way lower than what you're wearing, forcing someone to do lots of maths on the fly to figure out if something is actually better or not every time they switch gear. Your objective here is to make your numbers as incomprehensible as possible, because a great part of numbers is that people will think it's their fault for being stupid and not understanding your numbers. I mean, they're just numbers, right? Number 5. It's not all about the numbers. There's a very standard visual language for this sort of game that uses colours to designate different tiers of gear. Anyone who's played this sort of game before is probably very familiar with it. White is common, the basic standard stuff, through green, blue, purple and orange at the top, increasing in rarity as you go through. You should absolutely borrow this language because it's very easy to twist and make really confusing. These colours are a shortcut so that a player knows that a blue gun is better than a white gun without having to study the numbers. So you want to try and negate that benefit as much as possible. Make the colours as unimportant looking as you can manage. Maybe only make a single number the colour. Use the same colours for a bunch of other stuff in the UI as well to make it unclear about what's green because of one thing and what's green because of item rarity. Hell, make your entire UI purple just to throw in a layer of confusion when you've also got purple stuff in the UI. Introduce a second, slightly different shade of orange to really mix things up so that players can't be quite sure which one is actually better just by a quick glance. Is heroic or legendary the higher tier? Yes! Now, you could simply not use colours at all, but then players know that they just have to read the numbers. You want to throw in that extra level of perceived easiness, when in reality they're going to have to study the numbers anyway. The longer you can have them staring at your numbers without quitting the game, the better. And there you have it, 5 ways to guarantee that your UI will be as frustrating as possible. Just remember that for these strategies to work, the UI has to work. If the UI is actually broken, then people will just quit the game. You don't want that. You're looking to frustrate, not lose customers entirely. Now get out there, you pioneers. Go frustrate some people. I'm dropping the facade now. I hope it's clear that this video has all been tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I am ripping Gotham Knights to shred, but it's with purpose. I was getting really frustrated while playing Gotham Knights, and it's the first game that forced me to actually think about all this stuff. UI is something that's only noteworthy when it's bad. When it's good, it's a breeze, you don't even notice it. Making this video has given me a newfound appreciation for how hard that breeze actually is to make. Because it's not any one thing that makes a UI bad. Almost every game has at least one of the things on this list. It's a series of little things and little annoyances that can lead to that building frustration. A list of things that are very easy to overlook when you're designing something like this. Bad UIs are obvious, but great UIs are invisible. So I hope the next time you close a UI without thinking about it, you take some time to think about it and appreciate the work that went into making that so smooth. Thank you for watching, and a very special thank you to my wonderful patrons for your continued support. If you'd like to see your name up here or get access to exclusive Patreon videos, then please consider signing up, it would mean a lot to me. I'm currently doing some bi-weekly rambles on my thoughts on Ahsoka, so if you're interested in that, then you can find that link in the description below, or wait for the magic Patreon box. Should be appearing right now. I don't really have other videos like this, but if you're interested in Batman, I have a playlist full of long-form critiques of the Batman Arkham series up here that you might be interested in. Or for something a bit different, why not learn about this cat and how it destroyed the Xbox Live Marketplace? That sounds kind of intriguing, right? Something you might want to click on.